Corecon provides an abundance of user-defined classification lists. These classification lists affect the log style reporting and in most cases allows for a grouping and subtotal on a log style report. They're also used to search by a category or classification. In a few cases, classification lists also affect the Corecon link to your accounting software. These features can be found by going to the global settings, and under feature settings, you'll see that the lists are found under these key features in Corecon. The different customizable classification lists are covered in training videos based on each feature. This training video is intended to be an overview of how those classifications can be set up, customized, and used. One example of a classification list can be found under the feature setting Contact Management. There is a list of company types. If you're just using Corecon for the first time, there are probably some suggested company types already listed for you. Corecon intends for you to customize this list for your company's needs. Remember to keep the classification lists in general terms, and if you're not sure how to use them, one way to organize your data is to consider how you'd want to see lists of records or transactions, in this case companies, based on some category or classification. How would you want them grouped and subtotaled? They're also used to search, sort, filter records and transactions. To customize these lists, you can remove the examples that Corecon provided by clicking Delete. You can add your own classifications to this customizable list, and you can also edit. Another example, also in Contact Management, is insurance types and contact titles. Again, Corecon wants you to customize these for your company's needs. Another example is found under Lead and Project. If you're just using Corecon for the first time, you should see one list called Lead Source and one called Project Type. Let's open Project Type. Again, Corecon has provided several examples for you, but we strongly encourage you to customize this list for your needs. Imagine for a moment that you have hundreds of projects already set up in Corecon several years from now. How would you want to group, sort, search, filter, and subtotal that long list of projects? Again, in very general terms. Also, again, Corecon wants you to customize these, and you can do that by clicking Delete. You can add New, and you can also edit. Back to Lead and Project. In the case of Lead and Project classifications, you can also create your own custom lists. So for example, I wanted to track every project entered in Corecon based on a profit center, division, or department of my company. So to create a new list, I just click Add. I added the list here. Once it shows here, I can click on it and start adding the different classifications or categorizations that I want to use. In this case, a profit center may be a construction group, a design group, renovation, and service group. Another example is found under Drawings. Drawing disciplines. Corecon has provided several as suggestions, but again, we would encourage you to customize the list. You can click Delete, Add, or Edit the existing list. In a few cases, a classification list can affect your Corecon link to your accounting software. One example of this is found under Procurement and Bill Types. The Corecon link to your accounting system will use bill types to determine the offsetting entry to these different record or transaction types. In some cases, the offsetting entry might be the accounts payable GL account, and also might be a credit card liability account or a checking account, and so on. Another example of this is found under Time and Expenses. If you scroll down to payroll items, your regular time, overtime, downtime, and so forth are also affecting your accounting when you export labor time cards. If you scroll down again, there's another one for miscellaneous expense payment types. There's also one called miscellaneous expense types, but the one that affects your Corecon link to your accounting software is miscellaneous expense payment types. Again, these are also used to determine the offsetting entry into your accounting software, where the debit side of the entry is to cost of goods sold. The credit side of the entry might be a credit card liability account, a checking account, or a debit card account, such as a checking. Remember that classification lists are found under all of these feature settings. We encourage you to gather your team and customize these lists to suit your company's needs. We also encourage you to keep them short to begin with, as these may cause some very long log-style reports. Now let's go see how these same classification lists are used. So we'll go back to Corecon Home. We'll go to Contact Management, and let's open an active company. We'll choose A&A Building Supply. A&A Building Supply, if you scroll down to the bottom, has a list of classifications. You can see they've been listed by a default master cost code. They also have one set up here for location. The company type is a supplier. That was the example that we used when we were looking at the feature settings. If we go back to Company List and we go to the log style reports, you can see that one of the log style reports is a list of active companies grouped by classification. If we open that up, we can see companies listed by those classifications. There's a group of architects, CM firms, consultants, consulting engineers, and so on. We can also select those classifications, in this case company types, if we wanted to see all concrete subcontractors, and click View Report. The report automatically shows only the companies listed under that classification or list. Let's jump down to Projects. The Project Setup Wizard references some of these classification lists, including the project type and the lead type. The projects themselves also have a list of classification types, and we could import more. Again, these are customizable lists intended to categorize, group, sort, search, filter, and sometimes subtotal on log style reports. Another example we showed was on the drawing logs. Drawings can be categorized based on the discipline. Again, these lists are customizable. Although Corecon has provided you some examples, your company will likely need to add more. Back to All Projects. Let's switch to a specific project, and we'll go down to Procurement, and then to Bills. And we'll click Edit, and you'll see Bill Types. This is one of the classifications we mentioned that will also affect your Corecon link to your accounting software. If this were an AP supplier invoice or vendor invoice, the offsetting entry to this bill would be to accounts payable. If you're entering credit cards charges as bills, the bill type corporate credit card would use an offsetting entry to credit card liability account. Another example that we provided is found under Time and Expenses. And then to Miscellaneous Expenses. If we go to the log reports, you can see that there are lists that reference the payment type. If we go back to one of the records specifically, the payment types can be shown as a separate column on the log view by adding those through the column settings option. And if we look at a particular transaction, you can see that the payment type is shown here as an Amex card or credit card. This is also one of the classification list types that affect your Corecon link to accounting. In doing so, records a cost of goods sold, and the offsetting entry to a credit card liability account. Back to global settings, and back to feature settings. Most of these customizable classification lists are covered as part of the overview training videos for each feature or module. We again encourage you as a group to determine how those lists should appear in your system and what role they'll play, especially when it comes to log style reports.